Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me today on this webinar from Jobs Go Public, all about candidate experience throughout the application process. My name's Amy Andrews. I'm the Head of Resourcing Solutions at Jobs Go Public, and I've worked within recruitment for the last 18 years, all within public sector recruitment, sharing successes and stories and helping our clients find the best talent for very hard to fill vacancies I'm sure you're all aware of. So the aims of today's session, and again, thank you for joining me today, is to talk about why candidate experience is important, how to engage with candidates, talk through the application process, give you some ideas of new recruitment practices that you can work through within your organisation, and how to measure success. Obviously, we all want to try and hire people quickly and thoroughly, so it's important that we do measure our successes when we're going through our recruitment processes. So first of all, why candidate engagement? Why it's important? Well, from a candidate's perspective, things have changed over the last few years, and I'm sure all of you are aware that things do change really, really quickly within organisations. Public sector is a huge recruiter, and it's often quite difficult to work quickly when we're working with candidates. So for their perspective, having a really good experience, a candidate experience for them, it sets a great impression. So it means that you're setting a first and good impression from day one. Candidates talk, and we do know that as an organisation that candidates talk, and just like if we were buying an iPhone, we would all talk about iPhones, how wonderful they are, or other brands of phones. So it's really good to set a first impression. And also it's essential for your organisation's brand. Local authorities, housing associations often are compared to private organisations. So being an employer of choice for the people who work for you really sets a good scene for organisations and candidates who want to work for your organisation. And also it ensures that candidates can complete and begin the process and actually complete the process. You may find when you're looking at applications that come through your system, your ATS that you may use, that there may be unfinished applications where candidates haven't applied. These are things that you want to know the reasons why, and it could be from their candidate experience. And also it widens your appeal and boosts engagement with passive candidates. I say to clients every day that not all the best candidates are looking. People won't always see an advert. It can take a little bit more than just an advert to entice somebody to your organisation. So by engaging with passive candidates, somebody who may not be looking, it can actually boost engagement and actually get people talking about you in a positive light. So a couple of ideas which I've had feedback from candidates in the past in terms of how to boost engagement. First of all is make it easy to apply. We all know that if it takes longer than 5 minutes for a candidate to hit that button and apply for a vacancy, they may decide that they no longer want to apply. So make the application process as easy as possible. And we'll go on to that in a little bit later on today. Respond to applications quickly. I do try to speak when I'm talking to clients about responding to people quickly. Engage straight away. If you see someone who looks good that's applied for a vacancy, don't delay. Please do reach out and have a conversation, maybe a telephone interview, a quick chat to say that you've received their application, that you're going through things, but it could take maybe a week or so to come back. I would also always suggest that when you are engaging with people and when you have got an application process, don't just wait until the end of the closing date to look at applications, because you may find that when you've come to those 30 days or 6 weeks or a couple of weeks, that people who applied straight away may no longer be available. So do respond to applications quite quickly and engage conversation. And also use your applicant tracking systems, your ATS system that you use to give candidates an update when you're shortlisting. It's a good way of communicating with people in terms of a thank you for your application response. It could be a quick email to say that you're going to be shortlisting on a certain day. And it gives people an idea of what's going to happen and what the timelines will be. And also highlighting key dates that the application process, and ensures that candidates can be available. One of the main things that we get from candidates and their feedback when they're looking for jobs is feedback. Now, it can be very, very difficult to get back to every single candidate, and I understand that completely from a recruitment manager's perspective, but it is really important that if candidates have applied, that they are advised if they haven't met the criteria, whether it be a swift email through your applicant tracking system, just to alert them that they haven't been successful. At least there will be some closure. And obviously, if candidates have taken the time to interview with you, have come for maybe an assessment day, please do give as much feedback as you can, because candidates, they want to progress, they want to get more experience. So it's really important that we do share that knowledge and that feedback with them, because it could be really helpful for their next vacancy. And obviously, within compliance processes, within the public sector, probably a lot of the compliance processes are thorough, things like DBS checks, 5 years worth of references, areas like that within your compliance. It's really important to share with a candidate what the process is, make it as smooth as possible. If there's going to be reference checks, advise them what reference checks are going to be needed, so that there's no questions or qualms when it comes to that stage in the process. It's always great to actually share that information. And also success stories. If you have somebody working within your business who really enjoys working for you, which I'm sure many of you will, share those stories, share successes, share them on your LinkedIn page, share them on your website, because you want to really engage with candidates as much as you can. And if they see that you're a really good organisation, that you're doing some wonderful things within your engagement, whether it be well-being, it could be to do with training and development, those are the areas that you want to success in. You want to have some success stories. And I'm sure many of you who are here today will have stories that you want to share about the reasons why your organisation is fantastic and why you work there. So it's really important to share that message and share that engagement, because people do talk. And like I've said, and I probably will continue to say throughout the webinar today, is that people do talk. And if you're working for a good organisation, people will share that story, and actually referrals could be a really good helping hand for you. And my biggest tip would be, don't delay. If you see a really, really good candidate who you like the look of, please, like I've mentioned before, don't delay, reach out to that person and be approachable, because that could be the difference of somebody waiting a couple of weeks to get feedback from the application, or it could be the case that they'll want to move on straight away and move on to a different organisation. So the application process. So it really does start with the advert. So the advert, it needs to be clear. It needs to really sell your organisation. That's the first thing that a candidate is going to be looking at. I mentioned before that things have changed over recruitment over the last sort of 10, 15 years. It's no longer a market where you have one job and you'll have umpteen applications. It's now turned into a bit of a candidate market, and candidates are dictating what happens in the market. So for them to be able to see your advert, please make sure it's clear and an attractive advert. And when I say clear, I mean things like adding the job requirements, being really specific in terms of the what you need, job level, the salary, benefits. It amazes me that organisations and some adverts do not have the benefits on there. They have separate links to the benefits. People want to see everything that you're going to offer. And it's about selling you as an organisation, as well as a candidate selling themselves in an interview or an assessment day. Things like remote or hybrid working, people can filter now in terms of only wanting to work hybrid working arrangement when they're searching for jobs, for example, jobs go public, and things like location and the application process. You need to make it clear for people so that they know what to expect. And if there is going to be a 3-stage interview, if there's going to be a presentation, then please do jot that in the advert so that people are prepared. And I think sometimes people drop out of processes because they don't understand what the process will be, and also they get a bit nervous when it comes to preparing presentations or areas of things like that. So it's really important that you are clear and you give as much information as you can. Now, using straightforward job titles, what you call something in your organisation may be very different to something in in another organisation. Just to give you an example, a housing officer in one organisation could be a neighbourhood manager in another. So really do try and use straightforward job titles. What you understand within your business, you're the experts within your industry. So it's really important that people know what they're looking for. And also with the advert, what I would suggest is making sure that that advert and that job title is in your advert 3 times, because it does boost the listing when people are searching, because a candidate who was a housing manager or housing officer would search for those keywords. So it's really important that in your advert, you are very clear with your advertising of your job title. And also, like I mentioned before, share your story, share what is great about your organisation. Is it because you have got developments going on? If it could be something that you've got a new programme, you've just been given new funding to set up a service. It could be planning, it could be something specific in planning. Share good examples of what's good and why people would want to come to you. I often put in an about us section within the organisation. So it's about you, about the job, and what makes that team, what makes that department really good to be working for. Also use clear and inclusive language, which is obviously very important to do. Diversity statements can put a candidate's mind at rest. Jargon can be quite disheartening for candidates if they don't know what the jargon means, and it could be something you often know about but other candidates don't understand those particular words. So it's really important that you do put candidates' minds at rest, because we want to be most inclusive as we can. Advertise the salary. If there are things like a market supplement, if there are a banding that we tend to use within local authorities, please ensure that you put that on. And also some organisations who do have some performance related pay, it is quite important to put that on as well. And if you are going to be looking through applications in a specific time, say that the advert might close early, because it means that it will entice people to apply quickly and not wait until the end of the advertising date to get their applications in. And also, please do try and include, like I mentioned before, why work for you, what your organisation is wonderful at doing, and what is really important for you as an organisation. So there's some tips really that can really set your advert apart. Like I said before, try and include the job title in 3 specific areas of the advert, so that when people are searching, it does boost listings within candidate searching. And also with specifications of what you're looking for, if you've got a long list of a huge list of things that people have to apply for the position, are all those important? I would say if you've got a list of 10, maybe half that list, and say that you're looking for someone with 3 top skills. When we're working with our clients, we always try to reach out to as many people as we can for their candidates. So if there is 3 top things that you need from a candidate, and you may want to have a qualification, it could be certain systems or anything like that, make it clear in terms of what you need, but try not to list everything, because it will dishearten a candidate for applying if they don't meet all of the criteria. I know there's some research gone out that actually women tend to not apply for an advert because they have not met all the criteria, whereas a man would, and there's been research that's been supported and come out with that recently. Yes, just make sure that your advert is clear and is appropriate for what you need. And I'd say 3 key things of what you're looking for in a candidate is really, really important. So moving on to some recruitment practices here. So we all use job application forms. Some of you may use CVs. You might just ask a candidate to upload their CV. It could be the case that you have questions and answers. It could be the case that you use an applicant tracking system to manage all of your responses. I think probably one of the biggest points for recruitment processes is that we need to think as like a candidate. If you would be turned off by your application process, it's likely that candidates will also be turned off in that process. So it's important that if you are looking to renew, to change your process, is your process too long? Because that can dishearten a candidate from actually applying. And your feedback from any reports or any outreach that you do with candidates could be the case that you are you've got your application process is too long. So like I say, application forms, is it just the case that they have to have a email address? Is it the case that they have to fill out a huge form, or can they just attach their CV? Will you look at a CV? So please do look at your processes and ensure that it's optimized for mobile. So lots of people now only use their mobile phones to apply online. Gone are the days when candidates would go online and fill in as much information as you can. I know I've applied for jobs in the past and it's taken me probably 2 weeks to apply for a post, and I've had to do it on my computer, but actually people are using their phones now. So please make sure that your process is friendly for candidates attaching their CVs on their forms. And also invite candidates to talk, give them the option to have a conversation with you. If you're an avid person on LinkedIn, it could be the case that you share the job or that you're advertising on there. It could give you an opportunity to talk to candidates and have some conversations with people before they apply. So that is also something you can add into your advert. And also asking the right questions. Some application process, when they're interviewing candidates, they haven't changed in some time. So are the questions that you're asking, do you have to follow a standard process, which is sure to make sure that it's fair for all, but also are those questions the right questions? Do they get into the deep and darkest answers of what you're looking for in an organisation? And also, if some of you are recruiting for your managers because you're in HR, your managers are the experts. You are the expert in your industry. I said to a client on last week that I had no idea about the legalities of being a legal recruiter, because I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand the whole rules of law. However, you're the one who works in those pools, that area. Are there areas where you could meet people, you can network, you can share how good your organisation is? And like I've said before, and like I keep saying, it's all about sharing your story. And if people know about you as an organisation because people are talking lovely things about you, that can really open the doors for having someone come to you and say, actually, I've heard you're doing some really good things. Let's talk about how I can approach you for a job. And your managers are experts. They move in those circles. So like I said, if you're in HR, you don't move in the legal world, you might not work in building control. It's important that your managers do share and reach out to their networks, because it could be the case it's someone that they know to refer into the organisation. And like I've said before, feedback at every stage is really important, whether it just be an email from a candidate through your ATS to say, actually, I'm really sorry you haven't been successful on this stage, or it could be more detailed feedback from an interview. We tend to, as recruiters, give lots of feedback through our candidates, and we tend to keep people updated through the process. So if I'm working with a client and it's taking a little bit longer, then I will speak to that candidate and let them know that the process is taking a little bit longer, which is something that helps somebody stay engaged. Because if you, for example, have offered somebody in December and they still haven't started because of the recruitment process, that can be really heartbreaking for a candidate, especially if they want to be working. And like I've mentioned before, please do try and keep people updated and think like a candidate. If you on the other end of that process, would you then be frustrated with not having any feedback? So please do feedback at every stage. So some recruitment practices to give you some ideas. So lots of different organisations that we speak to and candidates who we speak to, we gather a lot of information from our candidates in terms of what's going on in the industry and what's happening. So yes, there are things like interviews. It could be a 2-stage interview, could be a telephone interview, could be outreach, it could be anything. But lots of organisations are changing in the way that they do their recruitment following just an interview process. We have run different campaigns with organisations recently in terms of setting up an assessment day within the care field. So it enables candidates who may not be comfortable with a face-to-face interview can actually do an assessment day where it actually can get the best out of a person and have doing different tasks to ensure that that person actually, if they haven't got the necessary experience within that industry, to give them an idea of what it's like with working within, for example, care. And it's a good way to get somebody out of their comfort zone and put them into an assessment day to actually, rather than just have a face-to-face interview, which can be quite daunting as a candidate. So assessment days can be run with a number of people. You have to obviously have people within your business to run those sessions, but it's quite a good way of recruiting if you're looking to recruit multiple vacancies. And some of our clients that we work with do them quite regularly because there's always a need for recruitment. There's always need for care workers within social care. So they run assessment days quite regularly to get people into that organisation. And actually within that area, within care, it works quite well where people want to learn something new, they want to do something new, and they haven't had an experience, but they've got the will to want to do it, and the patience and the caring aspect of that area. And also it ties into skills-based recruitment. So not just ticking the box of an interview, it's looking at people's skills. It looks at what people can bring to the table in terms of their transferable skills. Somebody may not have worked within the public sector before. They may have worked within the NHS, or it could be a private sector, but they have got the skills and the areas that you want to work in, but not necessarily have the public sector skills that you're looking for. And also think about employee referral schemes. I know we do this as a business where if somebody's referred to us to work within our business, and many other organisations offer a referral scheme. So if you bring someone to the table, they can be given a voucher or some form of thank you for referring somebody, which does really work within organisations. You'll probably find that people move around, especially when people are in the temporary market. They move from one borough to a different borough. So it's quite good to actually open that scheme and get people talking in a positive light about your organisation, because it does really help when you're trying to fill hard to fill roles. And also candidate management. So what I mean here is candidate management. One candidate could be really good for a position, but they may have been picked to the post in whatever practice. Managing candidates for maybe other positions, building talent pools, somebody who may not be qualified and to what you need right now could be a candidate for the future. So it's really important that you do focus on your talent pipeline, because somebody who's not ready now or doesn't fit within what you'll need, if in terms of a certain qualification, and you can't have somebody without that, it's really important to look after the pipeline that you have and think about candidates for the future, because people could come back to you. And obviously from a candidate's perspective, if you've given them up-to-date feedback, if you've given them information that's going to help them move on for the future, they'll think about you, they'll remember that, and they'll want to come and apply for your jobs again. If a candidate, for example, doesn't hear anything, had an interview and didn't have any feedback whatsoever, they're again not going to want to apply in the future, and they will tell candidates and other organisations about the feedback and the experience that they've had. So it is really important that you do try and give somebody positive experience as much as you can. And passive candidates, I said earlier that the majority of candidates aren't always looking right now. If you're not looking for work, you're not going to be searching. So it can be the case of sharing information on LinkedIn. It could be networking, attending events. For example, I'm a member of the CIPD, so I will go to their event in June. And I often go to networking events that they run. Similar with the PPMA, I'll be there in April. So these are sort of things that we will do as we're talking to clients and talking to candidates, because we want to know what's going on. So again, your managers are your experts. So if they're networking and they're sharing your plans for the future, it's really important that you do use that information, because a candidate who is being employed for a number of years within one organisation, it might take them a little while to want to then move on. I was in my previous job for 16 years. It took me about 6 months to then start my job here. So it is focusing on passive candidates. So it's playing a longer game rather than instant wins, which you could do, for example, with an assessment day. And like I said, attend events, link in with colleges, universities. If you have a constant need for planners, it could be the case that universities in your area are have people in their final year of doing certain courses. It's thinking about that bridge of where you're going to get your talent. All about succession planning, what's going to happen in the future. If this person retires or moves or leaves for whatever reason, have you got someone to fill in that gap? And sometimes, often when you have links with colleges or universities, there's a constant stream of candidates there. I know a couple of clients a number of years ago, you had to have an affiliation with a university with their planning teams. There was a constant influx of candidates who would be moving up the ranks within that department. And also social media, update your careers page, make things relevant. Social media is such a powerful tool, whether we love social media or we hate it. It's all about sharing your brand, sharing using your skills and availability of what you're looking for. So please do, as much as you can, share on social media the good stuff, because it really does highlight people who want to work for an organisation, especially within the public sector, to make sure that your careers page is up to date and has relevant information. And also have things like testimonials from your staff, photos, team days, stuff that's going on within your centres, really good stories that people want to share about their experience and what they want to do. And how do we measure? So one of the areas that I always say to organisations is ask for feedback throughout the process. Ask for feedback, send candidates questionnaires at any stage, whether it be application stage, whether it be after an interview, whether it be a decline or accept. I think feedback is really important key, because it lets you know what's going on in the market. Unless you're talking to candidates and asking for feedback can be quite difficult. I've run a number of sessions recently with clients asking for feedback from candidates in terms of the advert and the salary that they're offering, and actually given some insight of what's going on in the market in their areas, because they haven't had the exposure with candidates. So ask for feedback. If it's good feedback, fantastic. If your application form is too long, then you can adjust it. If it's the process wasn't right for the candidate, it just gives you some experience of what you're doing. Also, look at your time to hire. How long is it taking somebody from application to start date? I know clients where it's taken 8 weeks. I know clients where it's taken 6 weeks. That information, unless you're looking for it, is really important, really key, because the longer your application and onboarding process is, the more chance a candidate will have to drop out of that process. So again, look at your time to hire. Are you onboarding people quickly? Are you going through the process quickly? Because you will then be able to see where the problem is, and if it's with shortlisting because your managers haven't come back to candidates quick enough, then you can address that the application through. And your acceptance rate, hopefully everybody that you offer accepts, which is the best thing in the world. I know when I've recruited previously, somebody accepting a job is the most fantastic feeling. Are they accepting? If they're not, why aren't they accepting? What's the reason why? Ask them. You want to know what's the reason why they're not accepting. Have they been counter offered? Is there anything you can do to try and get them to accept? So have a look at your acceptance rate and ask for feedback is my number one tip. And also applications completed. I know with our applicant tracking system, we can record information of how many people have started an application and how many people haven't, and we can reach out to those candidates to find out why. Does your system do that? Are you able to find that information? Because if you've got 100% applications completed, then I would tend to say that your application process is really quick and really good. But it's something to look at for your application process and see how many people are actually applying. I would like to thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you found this helpful. And even if there's just one thing that has helped you along the way, that's the best thing I can do. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for your comment. Thank you there. And it's been a pleasure to have you all today.